Okay, everybody, welcome. Good morning. Happy Wednesday, January 21st, middle of the week of a insane first couple weeks to 2026. Lots to discuss. Let's go through some things. Gold is now at a record relative to where this line is. All right. It's pretty good R squared. It's not as good as Bitcoin's 96% R squared, but a 79% R squared is still pretty fine. As you go back in time, this number wasn't always there, right? I could put the evolving trend, but I'm not going to do it. I'm showing you basically the bounds of the exponential trend as it's been built out over the last 55 years since gold has started to float. As you can see, at $4,800, it is at the 100th percentile. All right. And when I say 100th percentile, and I always forget to keep putting this on this chart, this one, but that means that it's 2.4, right? $5,000 would be 2.5. So $4,800, 2.4 times the trend. Trend is 2,000, where it should be trending buyers and sellers $2,000 gold based on the exponential trend since 1971. We're at 4,800. That is 2.4x the trend. That 2.4x, that multiple, is a record. Now, to be more precise, it ties a record. All right, so we set the record here. All right. And we also set the record here. In the early days, as we were building up to this 1980 peak of $850 for 2 seconds on the COMEX, which I think was here in January 1980. It's not 850 on this chart. This is a month-end chart, but that's when it happened. The point is, gold is an exponential asset, unlike Bitcoin. And exponential trends, they certainly can get above their skis. They can also be way lagging the long-term trend, which happened here from 1980 to 2000, went sideways and down. But right now, amidst the world that we're in, gold is, relative to its exponential trend, at an all-time high. This chart will not tell you how high it can go, but if past is prologue, we could probably start to push this up a little bit more. All right. So again, meaning that the multiple. So this trend, I needed the evolved trend here, but basically, the trend line at this time was probably something like 2.4 times lower. It was definitely around 2, maybe 2.3 something. So this one isn't as nice as my Bitcoin charts. I should update it for you, but let's just quickly do the math. 1814 there on the monthly. It's probably 755 bucks. 755 bucks was the all-time trend of gold at the time when it reached this $2,000 high in 2011. I know it's only 1,800 here, but this is a long monthly frequency chart, so you're not seeing the intraday or daily highs. In any event, 2.4x, the trend is the number. All right. So again, it's 2,000 roughly. Is 4,800. So we're at the all-time high. All right. Could we push this to 2.5x? Could we push it to 3x the trend? Yes, absolutely. So 3x the trend is $6,000 gold. Totally possible. But if you're a Bitcoiner, as I am, and you see the value of Bitcoin compared to gold, even in an exponential world, even in a highly unsustainable world geopolitically, there's nothing in this chart which shows you that gold should be $5,000 an ounce, $10,000 an ounce. Anything's possible, but supply and demand doesn't really portend such rates. Let me try to show you why that's also not going to happen. I saw some people tweeting about this, older videos, or talking about it on YouTube. Let me zoom in here. Since the global financial crisis, gold reserves have grown like this. They're higher than they've ever been. Actually, I don't think they're actually higher than they've ever been. I'd have to go back to the 60s. They're very close to all-time highs at 1.2 billion ounces total. 1.2 billion ounces in central banks. But it's not like you see a big bump here. Even if China buys, Russia doesn't have any money for their terror war. All right, so here's Russia. They haven't bought gold. Since they started their hellish invasion of Ukraine, which certainly hasn't been good for them. China is buying, all right, no question. China's buying. But the rest of the World Bank for International Settlements, they float around. IMF floats around as well, but much bigger numbers, by the way. 100 million ounces is pretty big. Let's put the U.S. on. Questions on if that's even there, but that's for another podcast. There's not much changing in the developed world. Let's look at Europe. Flat. Switzerland, flat. Sweden, not really consequential. Yeah, Switzerland's there. We took off of Europe. Yeah, completely flat for Switzerland. France. China is basically the only one buying. And Poland, by the way. Poland is going gangbusters. I highly, highly recommend you read Chasing Gold. I've talked about this before. Some people took me up on it by George Tabor. Highly recommend you read this book to learn. About 10 years old right now, so you can see the unbelievable story of gold moving around Europe when the world order broke down. The Polish gold, the Norwegian gold stories are the most incredible, and it's all in here. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. And as I've said for a long time, primarily based on this book, by the way, it wasn't really even Roosevelt that ended the classical gold standard. It was Hitler and Stalin. It's when peace completely breaks down and you don't even know where you can send your gold. That's when the gold standard ends. So even though all the gold bugs are loving this spike, where are you going to send your gold? To the United States? All right. Let's look at Bitcoin. I'm not surprised by the weakness. Okay. I've said it for a while now. I know that Bitcoin is a risk, supposedly a risk off asset like gold at this point in time, but it's still incredibly immature, young. Read David_ENG, I believe, was his Twitter handle. He's got that great analysis lately on the gamma cage, basically Wall Street, sort of locking gold in this sort of covered call, shuffling up the stack. It locks the price in, although they can't do it forever. People that want yield tend to forego a little positive price appreciation in the returning for some yield in the short term, because that's what people want. People want a little bit more risk. I would say personally, I don't know for sure, but personally, all those strategies are quite risky now. That is, you know, capping your upside in Bitcoin or even losing your Bitcoin if your covered calls go against you. But in any event, it's not really the core of my work. I do think we can still go sideways. For a while, I think we could go down, even with this weakness. It's a tough call. It's a tough call, but you know, the fact that the world is on fire in so many places right now and Bitcoin is not pumping and gold is pumping shows me that Bitcoin is just too immature at the moment. It could totally pump next month. Who knows? You know, I love to make those disclaimers. Not financial advice, but I wouldn't be surprised still by the end of the year if we're still somewhere in this channel, maybe even going down to the 20th percentile, the 10th percentile, 60, 70K. So I'd say be prepared for it. Where is this one? Okay, so now that we've established where gold is relative to its all-time trend, all right, since the 70s. It's at an all-time high level. It could go higher. Let's look at, did I not refresh that? Let's look at the gold, the short-term window to show you sort of how insane this growth is. And I'm pulling it up. One second. And this, it's important to point out, as sometimes I forget, you know, sometimes people, when they talk about the long-term price performance of gold and what it can do for you, they go here back to 1971. They pick 35 bucks an ounce, which actually started to break already in 1968, but whatever. It was already like 41 bucks in 1971. Call it 35 bucks, the old statutory rate. The Smithsonian rate was 42. That's actually what it's still on the books now in the United States. It ended all the way here in 1976. In any event, call it 35 bucks an ounce back in 1971. They take a NPV to PV, and I haven't even done it, but you'll get recently, let's say, you'll get something like 7, 8%, maybe even close to 9% right now. Probably not, probably 8.5%. And they say, oh, that's what gold gives you, 8.5% per year. It's not the way you do it. It's not the way you do it. You got to look at the trend, and this is the trend. Find the trend, find the slope of the trend, and that's going to show you the actual return. And that is 5.2%. Even with this crazy bullish activity, this is a 5.2% slope. Now, I tend to be in favor of, you know, letting my gold go for Bitcoin. Yeah, not financial advice, but it's a good idea to sell into strength, I would say. And so if the world is panicking, and buying gold, you might pay, again, not financial advice, to do the opposite of the old Rockefeller, or not Rockefeller, the Rothschild quote, which is buy when there's blood in the streets. selling when there's panic, geopolitical panic, might also be a good idea. But in any event, I'm more of a Bitcoin guy, so not financial advice. Anyway, to track that. Now, let's look at gold since the AI boom started, and also just during this period, basically. Let's pick the best looking trend. I've shown you this before, and this is what it looks like. So now this trend is pretty great. Peter Schiff would love for this trend to continue, but based on this whole encompassing free floating price history of gold, I don't see this happening at all. But just to, to have fun with it, let's go back to October 2023, which is roughly when you can find the best based on the time, based on the way that the slope works, is the fastest slope. You're at something like 43% on this curve. All right. So this curve, 5.2% per year. But this curve right there, 43% per year. So again, I would just say extreme caution, because if you start to go this, see what this actually portends a few years out, I would say even this could happen 5, 6, 7,000. But because of compounding, the power of compounding, you get to 2030, $20,000 gold. I think Bitcoin going to $1 million at this time is much more likely, based on the strength of Bitcoin's power curve compared to this short run gold exponential curve. It doesn't make sense. This makes more sense. Go in the long term, get all the data, see what market participants thought, in the crash of 87, or, after the Hunt brothers tried to corner the silver market. Gold is a supply and demand asset like any other. And gold is not deflationary. There are more ounces that come out of the ground each year. So even though the gold bulls are loving life right now and making $400 billion a year annually in the gold mining industry, when this industry used to make, 100 billion tops a few years ago. But because of this price action right here, they're going up to $400 billion a year, the mining revenue, the mining industry worldwide. That's going to end in tears, as it always does. Right? You're going to have projects that theoretically seem economically feasible at $4,000 gold, $5,000 gold, $6,000 gold. And then people are going to start to go around even in like shopping centers, and they're going to see gold prices, and they're not going to want to pay them. And as they say in the business, the cure for high prices is high prices. And so high prices will eventually, with competition, with failures, cause the gold price to come back down and be better for consumers in the future. But that pain, we're not there yet. We're in the euphoric stage. So that's what I see. Compare that to Bitcoin. As I've said 1,000 times, you guys know it by now. Hello, Bitcoin Polska. Hello. Good afternoon to you. Bitcoin has this nice, beautiful power curve, proportional, sustainable power curve, totally different, and it's still a very fast growth rate, 42% per year right now, but declining. So actually the same growth rate as this, but this cannot go on. It just cannot go on at a 42% year on year for gold, whereas Bitcoin can decline and still have massive nominal gains, to the tune of $600,000 by 2030, $1 million by 2033, or is it? Yeah, mid 2033. Much more sustainable, much more environmentally friendly, much more feasible, much more divisible, global, fungible, and I have no doubt in my mind that it's going to be a good asset to hold amidst this chaos. So bottom line, we've reached the level. That's what I wanted to tell you today. We have reached it. $4,800, 2.4 times. This black line is the number. That's the multiple. Never in the history of the gold price has it been more than 2.4 times the trend, right? We sort of figured it out where it was here. It even pushed the trend, the multiple up here. This means it's probably was like, I don't know, 2 times the trend, went up to probably 2.3 or something. And here it pushed it up to like 2.4. And that's where we are today. That's how it works. Just basic stats can show you a supply demand picture that I think can just hopefully cut away the noise from all the madness. Hello, Jukebox. I have silver. I'm not sure if I have a clean chart like this ready for them now. Let's see. Obviously, silver's, as we know, more aggressive. I don't necessarily have it actually, but let me see if I might be able to make it quickly. Really quick. Have to come back to you tomorrow on it. Yeah. Okay. So it's going to be the same effect, though. Very similar. Very similar. They move almost in lockstep, as you know. Usually, silver is even more extreme. But here's the big one, finally. This is what I want to show you. So now, because of the gold madness, gold euphoria, let's continue to see how this little Bitcoin is. Professor Schiller said this Bitcoin back in a funny interview with my mind is blanking now. A positive Bitcoin crypto CNBC guy. He never thought that Bitcoin was a viable asset. But this old Bitcoin is still worth 20 ounces of gold, a little bit less, in fact, as of today, 18.32. All right. So very cheap, very, very cheap. If you're a gold bug looking at the Bitcoin market, super cheap. This is the one that I just really want to pay attention to the most in the next couple months. Very hard for me to see that this goes back to 10 ounces. Statistically, so unlikely. All right. It's point. So again, same logic as my gold chart before. Here's the power regression. And we're just going to analyze the multiples at any given point. And the worst multiple, like in the history of sort of making this regression of Bitcoin price, is 0.1x. So whatever gold is in whatever Bitcoin is in gold ounce terms, 10% of that. Okay, so 6.5, which is really, it's a little bit more than 0.1 because you can see, look at this up arrow. What does it say in the tooltip? 8 ounces. 8 ounces would be just like gold here setting a new record high in dollar terms. That would be setting a new record cheapness, record low in Bitcoin terms. Actually, Bitcoin setting a record low in gold terms. Be the cheapest we'd ever seen based on the trend. And I just don't see anything like this coming close, to be honest. Right? Only time it hits it is way in the early days when things are, this curve didn't exist. It was more volatile. That's when it hit. That's when it painted that 0.1x, right? Which really was like 0.2x, 0.12 or something like that, 12%, not 10%. And then we've never been close to that since then. The more interesting bands are like, that middle 80%, right? Same with the 100th percent. It's way rare event. It's 9.7 on the upside. So 10% on the downside, 10x basically on the positive side. Extremely rare events. Could always happen. But with Bitcoin still in a, I don't want to say it's in a secular bull, but it's going up compared to 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I have a very hard time seeing this get much lower. But we're going to have to see. Going to have to see a couple of months from now into the summer. If things settle down with all this rhetoric geopolitically, how this looks for the gold bugs that might want to sell some of their gold for Bitcoin. Because notice, by the way, and anything can happen, but this trend line goes up every day. Okay, so even though now it's under the 10th percentile at 22 ounces, that would be the 10th percentile. We're under that at 18 ounces of gold per Bitcoin. Day by day, this trend line goes up. By the end of the year, it's going to be 30 ounces. Very difficult for me to see 10 ounces of gold per Bitcoin. Not financial advice. Speaking of that, I wanted to bring up the old growth of the power curve as well, because in actual dollar terms, because we talked about that on Monday, I guess. Sorry, I didn't record yesterday, by the way. It's crazy days. Sorry, I missed your... Yeah, no, it is. Look, I mean, this is a more unique one, right? Still 95% R squared. But yeah, it seems high, right? Gold has, because of gold's gangbuster performance, during the same time that Bitcoin also went up. Bitcoin had has been in a secular bull since December 2022. Bitcoin's still up, but it's just gold has been going so crazy that it's gotten this, what seems maybe unreasonably high regression line, but that's the regression. And by the way, I have pretty strong belief, faith, confidence in the numbers. So, no doubt, gold is pulling this down. Every day it's lower and lower. But if it goes back to the trend, right, that actually means that you'll do that much more than if it goes back to the dollar trend, because the dollar trend is only, 20% undervalued or whatever it is, right? 15%, 25%. But here we are 2/3 undervalued of the trend. So if this trend line holds, and I still believe, why wouldn't it, based on Bitcoin's properties, then you get that much higher of an upside for Bitcoin when Bitcoin goes back to this gold Bitcoin trend line. And I think that also portends very high dollar term multiples at some point in the future. Maybe not this year, maybe next year, maybe Stephen Perno's cycle theory is much better. This sort of extended wave thing could be 2027. But these numbers would really be in play then, I think, in 2027. You see that Bitcoin price right there, 300,000, 400,000. Hello, name goes here. Where are you today? I am as well. It's a good attitude. You have to enjoy it, and also, if you have an asset that is way outside of its trend, this is why I do this. I do this analysis. It's for my own sanity as well, right? If you have an asset that is way outside of its trend, could make sense to lighten up. No one knows when that top will come. Maybe this doubles. But it always makes sense to sell into strength and buy into weakness. Easier said than done. But yeah, I agree. Total conviction there. Thanks. Yeah, 42% already. Although it's slightly different with the positive and negatives, right? So 89 divided by 126. Yeah, it's 30% actually. 30% down. So do it the other way. 89 divided by 126 will give you 0.7 minus 1, negative 30%. And unlike Trump, that will never go lower than 100. That calculation. So yeah, it's 30% off the trend, which is significant. It's been worse. I'm not worried about it. I'm really not worried about it. Enjoy, like Bitcoin Polska said, enjoy this uncertainty. This is the fundamentals of the gold market. To the extent that there are big buyers of gold, this is the fundamentals of the gold market. All right. It's not moving. This grows at 1.2% per year. Does that justify a 42% move? You see there the long-term trend has been up since the global financial crisis, but it's not been any different than the prior 15 years before last year, 16 years, 18 years. Sorry. Math is slow today. They have their moment in the sun. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to do here. Very cool. Is that in Stockholm? Oh, yeah. Good point. That's also a fun little analysis. It's never as easy as you think, right? Because that's true. 70% drawdowns, which Bitcoin has had, is not a 70% return to the upside. Good point. If you see here, it took 1 month to set a new record, right? Probably went from 2.35x to 2.4x or whatever on the trend at the time. This didn't exist, but this did. and just took 1 month. Here, it took from August to it took 6 months, 5, 6 months. So this is our benchmark, I'd say. This is too early. Although it is true, this was the end of an old monetary order. Now we're at probably the end of the current monetary order. So I guess I can't make the argument that times are normal, but look, I don't see this thing going up for, let's say, a year. More than a year. Like it would be rare. Thanks. Yeah, I have different ones with different charts. I took them off of this one. I do for some of them have the halvings. If you like it more on this one, I can put the halvings back. Halvings are helpful. Um, for example, here. Different bips, different halvings. And I will admit, this is the most curious thing to me is this thing, right? Said it before many times. We're at the same level of miner revenue as we were last cycle, and maybe topping, or maybe not. I tend to believe quite strongly in cyclicality or cycles with Bitcoin, not necessarily with other assets, but with Bitcoin. And I might be kind of an outlier in this, but I do think that there's a pool there in the halving and just a new crop of young people that are excited about digital money, learning about it, and so I do think it makes sense when you see these annual numbers get so much higher from miners, right? Like back in 2010, it was less than $1 million a year business. When I first heard about Bitcoin, it did not buy right there. But every cycle, you get to 2014, it's nearly $1 billion business, theoretically, for all miners. 2017, it gets to a $7 billion business. 2021, it gets to a $17 billion business. And now it's been stagnant. So this also goes back to your comment, DEFCON. I would take this as a bullish chart. It's very hard for me to believe that this doesn't rise proportionally every cycle. Nice. That sounds awesome. I've never done that. That sounds awesome. What one are you talking about? Like dollar terms? Yeah, so it was something like the 15th percentile, 12th, I don't know, 13th percentile, right? And so just taking off the noise. Look, I see it as a possibility. but it's not that bad. I mean, we all would be loving to buy more Bitcoin. Okay, in the next few months, it looks bad if it goes down to like 40, 50. But by the end of the year, it's 60, 70. 60, 70 by the end of the year. Yeah, that's a good point. Good afternoon, Samavana. Long time. I mean, trend will be broken when. Sorry, where the hell is it? Trend will be broken when this is not a 95% R squared, but says, I don't know, 49. It's coming back. Could come back in a big way in 2027, like Stephen Perno said. And when it comes back, it's going to mean a huge dollar value for Bitcoin, as I've been trying to say. 2 or 3x more than the dollar value trend, I believe. It'll be a monumental push. This doesn't like disappoint me at all or scare me. I mean, if you, as you guys know, if you just overlay this craziness with this sort of averageness, and you get what you get. It's not going to break. Knock on wood, it's not going to break. Yeah. I showed this Monday, just again, quickly. I think it's good to review because I hadn't seen this in a while myself, and I started to say it wrong. So we have this power curve, looks nice, but let's start to analyze how it changes each day, right? So right now it goes up 120 bucks a day. By the end of the year, it's going to go up 150 bucks a day, right? Back in 2015, 16, it was only growing 2, 3, 4 bucks a day. Now let's look at the monthly. All right, so this is this month versus last month, not going into next month. So at New Year's time, from January 31st, the end of this month, to looking back to New Year's, it's been up $3,500. That's a hell of a month for anybody, I would say. Yes, we could have years where you're under trend, but think about that. Back in 2017, 2018, this thing was only going up $100 a month. Now it's going up $3,000 a month, over $100 a day. And by the end of the year, we'll be at a $4,400 a month rate. It's like should get a lot of comfort there. And then add in the yearly trend, or sorry, that's the quarterly trend, let's forget that. Add in the yearly trend. Power trend is $37,000 higher than it was a year back. Massive. And by the end of this year, it's going to be $48,000. And imagine if we do fall to 40, 50K, which is totally possible. I don't know the future any more than you guys. But the trend is still 48,000 a year. Imagine if you can scoop up Bitcoin for 50,000 when the trend is 50,000 a year. And let's look at that, by the way, back to say here. All right, so this also shows you the proportional nature of Bitcoin. Yeah, it's harder to get amazing deals, but back when Bitcoin was peaking in 2017, it was way above, way outstretched from that yearly trend, right? The yearly trend was only $1,500 dollars, 10 times less. You know, or the 2013 boom, the yearly trend was under what the daily trend is right now. So it's all about perspective, right? Yeah. This is this is a great thing to keep in mind if we have some shock and we go to 50,000. Like you're getting a 100% dividend theoretically. I mean, it's not a dividend paying asset, but you're assuming a double at some point in the near future if price falls to 50,000. Which is probably a good argument that it's not going to fall to 50,000. Because Wall Street knows about this. They run these numbers crazier than I do, I'm sure. Just quickly, I stayed away from politics last couple days, but this is a serious thing. I know that people in Iran are just hurting, and they're in the face of a totally new global order. It's not necessarily going to come to save them. So, thinking about these people a lot. Back to Europe, as you know, close to my heart here. Here's from Sean, great British Marine who fought for Ukraine, lives there now. You know, I mean, it's -10, -15 at night, and just heroic people. They're getting pummeled every night, more and more every night to their power grid, and it's just an inspiration to see. Here's a Norwegian fighting in Ukraine in his winter gear. I just can't express how much we owe to these people here in Europe. These are countries that, if we do face a new world order as a result of what happens in Greenland, I think probably all these countries are going to stick pretty close together. And that's going to be what it is. On the other crazy side, well, let's start this one first. I'd probably say this was the best speech I've seen so far. I know if you're hardcore Bitcoiner anti-government, this is the globalist terrible forum, but I mean, the cards are out in the open now. Canada has a hostile actor to their south, and so his speech for sort of mid-level nations, I thought was very appropriate. I'd recommend watching it. But then just the madness. I mean, here's Ann Applebaum again. I'm a huge fan. They're now prepping for what word should I use? I mean, a hybrid attack? It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to even say these things. Oh, here's Tom Palmer saying why, in order to attack Denmark or Canada, would be not merely illegal but treasonous. Yeah, it's not even an Article 5 thing. I mean, it's an Article 1. You can't even, in Article 1 of NATO, threaten another NATO ally. You're not supposed to use even a threat. Tom Palmer, good libertarian. There's Marco. Had to bring in the comedy, right? I mean, these memes have gotten beyond hilarious in certain cases, but we're just gonna have to see. It's over. If you guys had any doubt, like the world order we had is over. Everybody knew it was changing, but it is over. The question is just how much the U.S. is going to rupture it. But don't let that get you down about Bitcoin if it's not like, this is, it's all part of the pie, right? All part of the picture. Gold is in a heyday right now, but the beautiful thing about Bitcoin too is it's not just about geopolitics. I mean, it's about a global asset being adopted. This power curve has no idea about what the European Union is or NATO. No idea. So more things where I think we can take comfort in. Sorry, are you on which chart are you talking about here with the peak? Well, we know it's not a security issue, which the U.S. is complaining about, right? It's absurd to say Russia's not a real threat. We should make, do deals with Russia and all of this, and then also use Russia as an excuse to take Greenland, which is what they're doing. Yeah, they had 20,000 troops in Greenland in the Cold War. And I'd heard different numbers. Doesn't really matter. I mean, 20 bases, 30 bases, say 20. Now it's 200 troops and one base. That was the U.S. is doing it. And by the way, everybody was doing it. It's not like, I mean, this was the peace dividend that everybody thought they had won after the Cold War. Everybody can be forgiven for this, in my opinion. It's just, I heard them say it on the Ukraine, the latest podcast. It's like, the situation is so ridiculous. It's deserving of ridicule. It's so ridiculous to talk about invading Denmark, to take a big island on the map when security is absolutely not the concern. I think it's vanity. I think it's vanity. Thanks. Peak is 10x yearly. Were you looking at here, for example? The multiple of the yearly, I'm not actually sure about. It would be a good thing to chart, wouldn't it? But it grows. It grows in dollar terms. So here, let's take away all the noise. This is what you're talking about, right? So this is a peak time. Well, it doesn't matter the peak time actually. Just look at it in the multiple is say only 3x here, and now it's it's also 3x. It will grow slightly. So here it's closer to 4x. 4x. I guess it could be something to chart that growth. I'm not sure though. I haven't thought about it relative to like the price. Well, you're right. I mean, there has been attempts for 150 years. You're right. But we're beyond normal diplomacy at this point. I mean, the outbursts, like everybody knows, this is beyond. He's not even acting like a president, let alone he's not even acting like an adult at this point. It's completely unhinged. All this, by the way, was predictable, in my opinion. But uh, if you listen to Peter Zion, the famed Bitcoin soothsayer who said Bitcoin was $17,000 overvalued when it was $16,000, right? On Joe Rogan. I do try to listen to some of his geopolitical stuff, even though he's vastly under uh, educated on Bitcoin. He says it's not even feasible to get these minerals on the way that the shoreline works around the island, to the tune of years and trillions of dollars. Again, just you throw that, people throw out these numbers, I don't know, but I think we might even see the the Venezuela. Like Trump has been explicit that it's about the oil. It doesn't even talk about human rights in Venezuela. It doesn't talk about the Venezuelan people. He doesn't talk about a new democratic elections. He doesn't talk about it. It's explicitly about the oil, and even there, he can't get the executives to go along with his plan. So it's literally a Looney Tunes world of his mind right now, where there's no it's completely untethered from reality, but he is the president of the United States. So this, he's scraping the bottom of the barrel from his advisors. It's United States policy is in his mind. He doesn't go to the Congress. He doesn't do anything with the Congress. Congress is not holding him to account. So I think greed is a part of it, but I don't think it's. I think it's vanity. I think it's untethered vanity. Well, if he takes part of Greenland, do you think he'll stop? You think he'll start to go to Canada? Because it's the same argument we have with Putin, right? It wasn't just Crimea. It wasn't just Donbass. It wasn't just Zaporizhia. He wants all of Ukraine. He'd love to go further. Moldova, Baltics. This is the part that cannot go on. But something will change, as I'm sure you guys all agree with. It's over. Yeah. Hello, Michael. Yes, yes, man. It's a work in progress already. I'm telling you right now. Be lucky if we get it out the start of this quarter, first quarter. But my plan is to have an option to have people log in and get some charts. Yeah, but Denmark has said like that's not an issue. There was there's something like 30 mineral leases that have been granted in Greenland, and the U.S. has one, has only shown interest in one. It's not. It's just made up. It's made up. We can look. Let me. Gemini is terrible, but People have probably been searching for this, so. Okay, so I was wrong on 30. There's 147 active mineral license in Greenland. And how much does the US have? I heard one. Yeah. There are, as of January 2026, take this with a grain of salt, always Gemini. There are 147 active mineral licenses. The United States holds one. It's not about that. I mean, they would get it easily, easily, whatever they want to do. I think it's vanity. It's the big island on the map that he would take over. Oh, wait, sorry, did that not show up? There you go. There's the Gemini. Very true. That's why it's good to stay sane and keep in this realm of statistical probabilities, right? Look, you guys know, I mean, I live here in the Baltics. We're more worried than most Europeans about what could happen, but um, it's going to change. Whatever. If the U.S. wants to say that they're not happy with the current situation, then it's going to change. Or if Trump wants to say it, because it's really just Trump at this point. Yeah. Every day, the war in Ukraine is becoming more important, not less. It's funny, like the collective sort of heart attack that the Europeans are having right now, particularly the Danes. Uh, I saw Gavin Newsom, again, not a fan, but it is funny, his retorts to bully Trump on Twitter. But he said, Europeans should have been doing this a year ago. Like, why were you appeasing Trump for a year? You can't appease bullies, just a bully. I agree with that. But I would say, even when it comes to defense and collective defense for Europe, like the Baltics, we were hyperventilating in 2014. All right, when Crimea was stolen, I was going to rallies in the Baltics and um, all over. I have friends in all the capitals. I was seeing different uh, gatherings, rallies, people talking about freedom, people talking about support for Ukrainians. There were Ukrainian, you know, uh, aid trucks going already in 2014. We've been hyperventilating against an aggressive imperialist state since then. It's now 2026, and it might be the U.S. that's going to go imperialist in its Western hemisphere. So uh, there's no doubt the old world is over. It's over. Yeah. Also boarding those oil tankers. Which again, Trump does come off as a slightly more complex figure when he boards shadow tankers that are taking Venezuelan oil. But this is something Europeans should have been doing for 3 years, 4 years. I mean, there's no way out of the Baltic Sea where they do the vast majority of their oil export than through the Danish Straits. It's war, and we've allowed it to be funded. I agree with you. I'm super concerned about this. I mean, which countries in particular do you think will become imperialist? Because there's a history there. The Germans in particular laughed at him. Former Stasi Merkel shut down nuclear. Former member of the Stasi. Let me just show you this. This is January 15th. I mean, it can't be any more obvious. You know, just look, if I were the Germans, I would be angry, right? I mean, you had to deal with unchecked immigration coming in from Syria. You had this lefty policy of Merkel, and by the way, Schroeder as well. Akash, this guy's got some algorithm. He's responds like every tweet I see, but Schroeder as well is a completely, absolutely bastardize any possibility of free and independent Europe because he was one of the chief guys in having the Germans be reliable on cheap Russian gas. And he profited from it. So, oh, I thought you meant Europe mocked him. They did. The Germans laughed at Trump in the UN address. And Trump was right in this particular case. Well, to this, I would say the small countries, the mid-level countries, we hope that we can get somewhere beyond this. This is why I think Carney's speech was very important. How important that really will turn out to be, but you know, the U.S. is now turning the rules that it set up for itself against its own members of its international order. I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I have a more optimistic view still that we can build up. I mean, I'm not saying you don't, but I understand your point. Carney said this as well. It's like we might have even pretended that the world rules-based order, to the extent that we pretended or we expected that the United States would break it from time to time, which of course they did, we still went along with it. You know, and that hurts particularly like the Balts, the Danes. You know, Denmark had the highest per capita, and I know it wasn't a ton compared to Americans, but it was the highest per capita death rate in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. Estonia was, I think, the second highest. We fought for them because we thought they would be there to fight for us, and now they don't want to fight for us at all. They don't want anything to do with it. Even if we all agreed that it was disastrous policy. Mutual mocking, yes. Hi, Stuart. Haven't talked to you in a while. Europe needs to do everything they can to stop this. And I agree with you. It's going over their heads right now. Germany, in particular, we're going to rely on Germany as a leader. There's no easy choice. Nationalist he may be, but yeah, global world order he certainly is affecting. It's over. Everybody, I'm sure you guys know it. I know it. It's over. It's just going to depend on how how much we can mitigate the damage, or if, I mean, if they do actually go into Greenland, then um, it's gonna Europe's gonna have to see which allies stick together. Maybe you'll even have some allies that will stick with the United States. I don't know. And then you're gonna have to see how hostile Europe becomes to American bases here, American personnel here, American diplomats. I mean, this would be for Europe as serious as Russia invading Ukraine if America attacked Denmark. Certainly agree. Certainly agree with you. The appeasement has gone on for a year. Where has it gotten us? I mean, yeah, I've heard that a lot as well, and a lot of the geopolitical analysts. I mean, everybody said that. Obviously, the Fukuyama quote, "The end of history," was a famous one. Although I find Fukuyama as to be a very insightful character, and he often says that quote was sort of taken out of context. But I think even in context, he was talking about a liberal world order would be the best world order, and that actually doesn't even seem to be um, as presciently obvious as it used to 30 years ago. And the peace dividend is off. It's just off. I would push back on this one. Ukrainians absolutely won the end of the war. There's not a hidden agenda there. The only agenda is for Ukrainians, life under Russia. They know it. It's been 100 years for them. You know, the Soviet Union, in particular, the Soviet Union. They haven't, but they've been smoked out in the 1918 to 1922 war that basically founded the Soviet Union. You know, there were Bolsheviks, there were Tsarist people, but there were also in Ukraine, there were anarchist movements, there were social democratic movements. There were multiple movements in Ukraine and in Belarus. We, just next to them, by the way, in the Baltics and Poland, we had sort of an independent, I mean, the Lithuania and Poland had a state in prior, so they could go back to that state. Estonia and Latvia did not have it. Finland did not have it, but they had a region where they lived. They had people, language, culture, so that it's not hard for them to set up a constitution. But Belarus and Ukraine suffered the most there. It's been 100 years. I mean, 110 years. And the only free and independent times for Belarus and Ukraine has been in the last 30 years, 35 years. And that they know they're never going to go back to living under Russians. It's worse than death. That's what they're finding. I can tell you that. It's worse than death. And I'm not saying that because I want them to fight or protect us, which they're doing. Yeah, unbelievable. We have an unbelievable debt to them for stopping Russian aggression further. I don't buy the hidden agenda argument at all, though I'm sure it's gone around a lot. I think Stubb is emerging as a world leader here. I think you guys are doing wonderful. Again, I know nothing about internal Finnish politics, and I know you have a overly maybe bureaucratic state, but you guys have been to war like 40 times with Russia, I've heard. And unlike us, who, we can just be like, the Baltics are like a not as wealthy Benelux, right? Like Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg. It took a day to for the Nazis to occupy Benelux area. I don't know how long it would take for the Russians to occupy the Baltics, but Finns, you guys have like what nearly 1 million reserve force. It's impressive. It's just like we need allies. We simply do because of our numbers, our geography, our location. But I don't. From the outside, to me, Stubb seems like an emerging leader. Interesting. But I mean, Stubb has not said that it's okay for Greenland to be annexed, right? I mean, look, the appeasement that they did, that everybody did in the last year, the stupid gifts, the Koreans gave him a crown. It's just all embarrassing. It's all embarrassing theater. But um, that's over for Europe. I can't. There's no way Europe's not going to continue this bullshit anymore. I mean, it's just impossible. You're right, Stuart. You're right. Wasn't this guy the runner as well? Didn't he run, or is that a different person I'm thinking of? One of these guys was an Olympic champion, and he also had like a huge kill list of Russians on skis. I don't think it was this one. Yeah. Well, look, everybody's done it. You can't I mean, it's now or never for Europe. It's now or never. You cannot invade Denmark. An ally cannot do it, no matter how they try. It's either the U.S. Congress steps up or Europe breaks with America. Pavo Normie, thanks. Yeah. It's very interesting to hear your perspective. What's the word, by the way? Yeah. I mean, nothing surprises us anymore over here. It's just, I'm curious what the Baltics will do if we're, I mean, I could see the Baltics like making some last ditch effort to try to keep the Americans around, but they're already making plans. Like if uh, if we have to go to like only a Northern European NATO or something, or because obviously like Hungary's going to be out of there, and sadly even Czechia might be out of there. But in any event, that the nuclear picture changes as well, by the way, and everybody's talking about that. So Poland is probably going to get the bomb if uh, if this goes the way that maybe Trump wants it to go. Suomettuminen. Suomettuminen. So that's for kissing the ass of Russia, right? Yeah, we call it Finlandization. It's an absolutely beautiful country. Great people there. Actually, some Finns helped me with the code of this chart. FYI, this was pre GPT of this charting mechanism. But in the way that I want to try to share it with you guys, it's going to be a little bit different. And I'm getting some AI help with that. Yeah, I mean, this is nothing that I think a reasonable Eastern European would disagree with. I need to show you guys the chart. It's a question of Western Europe, basically. Uh, Hold on, I'll show you. I have the breakdown. It should make it pretty clear. You know, Eastern Europe and Northern Europe, whatever, we're spending 3, 4, 5% on our militaries. We're just small. It's just the nature of geopolitics. What I think you're speaking about is Spain, Germany, France, and even the UK. Uh, One of their former, I saw on a podcast. I watch a lot of these podcasts now, more than Bitcoin stuff, as you guys can tell. Uh, it was one of the former intelligence officers in the UK said that the UK had become infantilized because of uh, expansive U.S. NATO umbrella protections. Um, so I absolutely say I would not disagree with any of that. Let me pull it up for you if I could find the damn thing. So I've shown this quite a bit. Oh no, I didn't see this. Can you tell me the memo? I'll look it up. If there's more bullshit coming out of the White House, like where they're forgetting us again, um, it's going to be annoying. Hold on. I'll show you. I'll show you guys. This will make it all clear. And probably a lot of you have seen this. So, can you see that? You can see that. All right. Um, this is military spend, right? Basically, since the fall of the Cold War, the U.S. was even the U.S. had their sort of peace dividend years in the Clinton years, like no increase in spending. Clinton balanced the budget. This, of course, this is desert fighting. This is desert fighting, not preparing to take on Russia. Then down, and now back up to $1 trillion a year. This is last year. Here is what everybody in America hates. This is pre 1999 members who are not spending enough and probably could completely match what the U.S. is doing. And here is where I live and the most loyal U.S. allies you can find. We're just small. This includes a lot of countries. This includes Finland, Sweden, the Baltics, Poland, Romania, Czechia, Slovakia, Hungary, although everybody hates them now and they're poor anyway because of Orban. At least I'm talking about in a NATO context, not talking about any individual. Hungarian, I've gotten a lot of positive support from them, of course. Um, we're just small. This is what, 50 years of communist occupation cost us. But everybody in this group, which is the small, least defended group, would be the biggest supporters of America and spends the most. So this is where your comment, Dog said, is like this is the tension for us. It's on a gross scale. We're just we're former communist nations. We're growing fast, but we're small. Yeah, interesting. Listen, I wouldn't be too cynical, right? I love going to Finland. Was there and the last that first Bitcoin conference. I'll be there again, I think, this year. And every time I speak to Finns, like to me, it doesn't seem on an individual level that they don't get it. Uh, Look, you guys are in this group with us. You're a post 1999 member. I'm very glad that you're in, but I wouldn't be so cynical about even, you know, to me, Stubb actually seems like a leader. And but again, I know that if that's so grating, and I'm not going to say it again, at least on this stream. But uh, hello, Fatter Cat. Good morning. Is this what you're talking about, Stuart? They put a map. Oh God, 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 God! I just can't do it anymore. Europe map. Trump. He just posted it or something. I'm trying to find it. Sorry, can someone tell me? Can someone tell me? And what are you talking about? So what's this leaked memo or the line drawn down the middle? I just want to look it up. Is he genuine or not? Just what should I search for? Trump map. Is it just some truth or whatever it's called? Map line down the middle. Ah, this thing. This thing probably. Oh, wait. Is that? Hold on. Uh, I presume. I presume you guys are talking about this. I mean, this is vanity. People can talk about security, you can talk about minerals, but it's just, it's too much. Like I said, I, I don't see the security, I don't see the minerals. It's 150 active mineral licenses. US has one. They can get plenty more. This is just, it's US foreign. This is, as they said it on, they said it on Ukraine the latest. I thought it was a good way to put it. Like, ridiculous doesn't even sum up the situation. It is worthy of ridicule, is the world that we're living in right now. It is so, it's so bonkers. But another thing, by the way, going back to all the Bitcoin stuff and trying to stay calm in the statistics, like everything's going up. All right. I'm not necessarily saying kinetic war is going to go up. I mean, here's China. Still the US and Europe, and even small Europe, New Europe, as Rumsfeld used to call us, spending more altogether, that is, than China. Russia's right here, about the size of all of us in Eastern Europe. And then Ukraine, small Ukraine, is just unbelievable. I thought this would be higher, by the way. 65 billion seems like, with all the aid, it seems like it's up to 100 billion a year, whatever. We'll see what it is for 2025 when they release the stats, but it's unbelievable. Okay, thanks. I'm gonna have to manually do that because this stupid thing, I actually literally can't even click links. it's a multi-platform stream thing. But that's I think that's Trump's mindset. No, I do not think. Okay, maybe the Trump base, maybe 25% of the American electorate would really want that or go along with it. Okay, I'll check it. I'm sure we're on the wrong side of the line. Oh, right, yeah, this "Make Europe Great Again." I know that it said it was Italy, Poland, Austria, yeah, and Hungary are the target countries they want to pull away from the European Union. Poland's a big one. Whatever happens with Poland is very big for us. Hungary is actually much less consequential. Poland is a big one. And here's the thing with Poland, like, 1939, Poland fell in a month. That gold, which you can read in that Chasing Gold book, which I showed, definitely read. George Tabor, Chasing Gold, great story. Um, they were fighting, waiting for the French and the British to come help them, to relieve them by fighting the Germans you know, on the Germans' west side, and they didn't come. So Poland knows more than anyone that if worse comes to worse, it's people are going to be very reluctant to send actual troops to defend an invasion. This is why Poland is just buying so much gold, buying so much military kit. Poland knows. Yeah. No, I got you. I got you. Poland is based. The sort of woke right now thing that America's dealing with, which again, I don't. I mean, I consider myself on the right, libertarian, on the right, private property, all this stuff. But as I've talked about a lot, like it was not. Daryl Cooper says, if Churchill didn't get involved, this would have just been a war about Poland. Churchill came in here when most of these countries were already invaded. Benelux and France, I mean, they're all falling like in a day in May 1940, which is when Churchill became prime minister. Gold based indeed. I'm going to send it again. I talked about it earlier on the stream, but just you guys should all read it. It's a great story. It's particularly, I think, relevant to today. And I actually do think that the Poles, the Poles better, they're going to learn from their past, but I'm not sure even how safe it is to keep all this gold in Poland, theoretically, right? Poland is buying, China's buying. Poland's buying a lot of gold. But this is a incredible uh, relaying of the story of in September 1939, all the gold leaving all the central bank branches from Poland, going through Romania, going through, getting onto the Black Sea, going through the Levant, going down to Lebanon on a train after being in Constantinople or Istanbul. And yeah, it's an incredible book. Absolutely would recommend it. And Bitcoin doesn't have any of those problems as well. So again, long term, we're good with Bitcoin. Yeah, I mean they might, but it's over. It's definitely, John Bolton said it was a twofer, right? For those that want to get out of NATO and want to just take Greenland, there's your twofer. You just do it and go. Uh, but that's a major change for how American bases look in Europe. Major. Nothing to report on my end. I've heard, but that's all. Yeah. I mean, look, I could be quite clear-eyed about how certain people I don't agree with portray it, but yeah, that's the twofer they want. You just go for it. But then Canada needs to be seriously concerned. I mean, he's not going to stop. It is possible, by the way, as I understand, like the Yukon might want to go anyway. I don't know. I'm not. If there's Canadians in here that can tell me, but the resource-rich part of America might. They've always been skeptical anyway of their federalism, and you know, the Ottawans and the Montrealians and Quebecians, like not really sharing any values of them, but they pay for a lot of stuff with their resources out in the Yukon. I've always heard that that's a hotspot for Canadian unrest. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, sorry. I think I'm so I got to get I have a stream deck actually. It was a Christmas gift. And I still haven't set it up because I think I was talking over a map that I wasn't showing. You guys still see the NATO thing? Hold on. I'm going back. I don't think I was talking over. I was showing you that. That's the Chasing Gold book. Read it. Read it. Read it. Read it. It's a fantastic book. Um, if anybody knows about what war could look like in Europe, it's Poland, and they also know that allies tend to not come to the rescue if it's difficult. So here's why you see Poland buying gold. But again, if you're just tuning in, that's not my message. My message is usually the whole world, and still the whole world, is not buying enough gold to represent the price that you see, which is growing at 42% a year, even though Poland is buying a lot. Thanks, Satoto. Thanks. here's how I would end it, and I got to end it, unfortunately. But you know, use these statistics more. Let's continue to remain calm. I'm gonna keep trying to put that out here. You guys, like, look, I feel like I'm in a very vulnerable part of the world. A lot of this stuff's going to affect us directly. If there are these lines drawn on maps by crazy Trump, we're probably going to be on the enemy's side that he would like to appease. So I feel this as much as anybody, not as much as Ukrainians, but I feel it. So, you know, we're in this together, at least for the Europeans that are listening. Spend time with your family. Let's watch the Trump clips. I'm not one to watch full speeches anymore. Actually, much happier about it. So that's how I'm doing it. Sorry, Imba Fisk. Don't worry about it. It is at all-time highs, but check the early part of the stream. It's rising because of geopolitics for sure, but it's not even based on anything because central banks worldwide are not buying that much, although they might continue to buy a little bit more. Thank you guys. Thanks for your contributions, everybody. It's the fear. I mean, it's definitely fear is on the rise. Yeah, the Aussies stay calm. It's bedtime for you soon, right, Stuart? Anyway, thank you guys. Thank you. I'm gonna end it here. Got to pick up the daughter soon, but it's hump day. We got through midweek. I'll be back tomorrow. Let's see if what ridiculousness we can talk about during this Trump speech that's coming up. Thanks everybody. Take care. Touch grass, indeed. Wonderful way to end it. Thank you, Stuart. Take care, guys.